that we want to exploit the product of tourism in the Western Circuit. I am ready and willing, in the company of Catherine Muma, to host you. You've talked about Amabeka, and you've talked about Isukuti. You're just scratching the surface, Minister. If I was to host you, you'd be amazed at the potential in Western. I would take you from Kitnikai, take you to the beautiful, only existing tropical forest in Kakamega, take you to the crying stone Hongomuri. I would take you to the beautiful cultural sites of bullfighting, the Nabongo Mausoleum in Kakamega. Madam CS, you're wasting time with those elephants and tigers and what have you. You have marketed them enough. Put your money in the Western Circuit and you'll grow the number of tourists coming in Kenya. You can see the leaders of Mombasa are so spoiled that you have given them direct flights and they don't know. They are still asking for them. One morning I have been in Mombasa, Madam CS, and I was very envious. I saw 5 Boeing, is it a 777, on the ground in Mombasa. Some of them were not KQ. So you have spoiled them, you've given them too much, they even don't know that they have it. Shift your focus,
Senator
come
Boni,
to Kisumu.
what is your
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had to say these things, Madam Speaker. Thank you for allowing me.
Senator Boni, you have thrown the Honorable CS into a bush in Western because you've scattered around and we didn't hear the question. I don't know whether she got any question from you. What was the question, or was it a comment? It's question time. Can you microphone, Secretariat?
Thank you. Madam Speaker, you were consulting when I was raising the question.
No, I was listening.
Yes, I said, allow me to repeat. I said, and I will not take long. I said to shift policy from the white beaches and the big 5
so
to come.
What is the question?
The question is this. I wanted her to commit opening of direct flights into Kisumu and committing funds to refurbishing the hotels, which I have enumerated, I don't have to repeat.
What is your point of order, Honorable Miraj?
Chair, is it in order for Senator Boni Halwale to assume that I don't know that there are some international flights landing in Kenya, in Mombasa, in Moi International Airport? I stood here and asked whether the CS is following up on the conversation that I started on this floor, where only 2 airlines were allowed to land in Moi International Airport, because we have more international airports that are taking tourism to Zanzibar and to Dar es Salaam, making us as Kenya and coast region lose a lot of tourists. Why is Boni Halwale?
Thank you, Senator Miraj. Thank you, Senator Miraj. Honorable Senator Boni Halwale, it would not be in order to assume that Senator Miraj does not know about the flights that land in her home county, and she uses the airport. So let's go to the next senator so that the Honorable CS can respond to this question. Senator Coril Chepkoech Joyce.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Allow me to congratulate the CS for the wonderful job that she's doing within the ministry. And on that matter, Honorable Speaker, allow me to really touch on the issue that she has given room to the Kenyans to mark the World Tourism Day by giving them free access to all national parks. So I just want to say congratulations, and we are looking up to seeing a lot of changes in that sector. Thank you.
Senator Mudhama Agnes Kavindu. Senator Agnes, I thought you had asked a question to the same CS. Had you asked a question?
Yes, I did.
Then resume your seat, Senator, so we give others a chance. You cannot ask a second one before they also go round, the first round. Please resume your seat. Senator Oburu Oginga.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to congratulate Madam for the good job she's doing and ask 2 questions. Or you just want me to ask one?
To ask only one, please.
One, okay. Madam Speaker, I think Mombasa is already oversaturated with tourism investment. That's where we all go. We all want to go to Mombasa. I want to take my family to Mombasa. But there is too much tourism potential in the western part of Kenya. And I would like Madam to tell me, there are roads. There is a road, a ring road, which was to go around Lake Victoria. And there was supposed to be investment. It was designed, it was costed, it was, I don't know whether it was tendered. But that was meant to open up tourism potential in that area. And the other infrastructure is the golfing, which is also very attractive. We have in Nandi, Kisumu, Kericho, Kisii, and Kisumu. And I would like to know whether they are also taking interest in sporting, so that as part of tourism. Well, Madam Speaker, I'm sorry I asked 2, so it's okay. Madam Speaker, that's what I want you to change your direction of investment to the Western circuit. That's what Honorable Halwali was saying. Because Honorable Kech asked about the islands, about Lake Victoria, but he tells me that you did not quite stress anything about, say anything about Lake Victoria. But this is a very, very high potential area for tourism. And it is time that we started directing our investments towards the west, where there is great tourism potential, including wildlife, including the lake sporting, and Madam Speaker, there is a lot of potential in the islands, particularly Mageta, and those other islands, Takawiri, and all those, the Mfangano. There are a lot of tourism potential in those areas. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable CS, you can respond to that before we take another round of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The comments by Honorable Kalwale are taken, and also by Honorable Koech and Miraj. We take all those comments. Honorable Speaker, the last question.
Senator Alwale, Honorable CS is responding to your question. Yes. Proceed, Honorable CS.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, that was a comment which we took note of, but to assure that the strategy we are implementing, the tourism strategy, is firmly anchored on Vision 2030. Honorable Speaker, the last question by Honorable Oburu was on diversification of tourism products and tourism destinations. That's why we are happy that this week, the World Tourism Week is being celebrated in the Western region, and specifically Kisumu. We've had a lot of activities since Monday. We have seen visits to Ndere Islands, the Kajulu Hills, and the climax will be on Friday, when we shall be launching the Western Circuit. And I want to assure the honorable member that we are really focusing on diversification of the products and tourism destinations that we have. We are cognizant that infrastructure is an enabler to tourism.
working closely with the Ministry of Roads for the roads and the circuits that will provide access to the tourism places. And also, sports tourism is a niche market for Kenya, and we shall be working closely with the Ministry of Sports so that we can take full advantage of that sector of sports tourism. But we are doing a lot of work to ensure that Kenya has a sustainable tourism industry. And just like the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza government says, that tourism is critical to the economy of this country, Kenya is still punching a little below its weight, and that goes a long way to describe the work that is ahead of us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Chute Mohamed Said.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our CS. I know she is among the 5 best CSs in this country, if not the #1. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Director General, KWS, who is here today. Honorable Speaker, the recent employment recruitment by KWS was the best recruitment ever. You are aware, these days, if you are recruited by KDF or police service, you pay something kidogo. But recruitment in Marsabit was done above board. Let me say thank you very much for that. Honorable Speaker, there is an issue in Marsabit about claims. There is an old man called Boru Fakansa who lost property. In this case, is with KWS. I want the CS to follow that case up, and if possible, these people should be paid. We have got millions of money that's supposed to be paid to Marsabit for people in Marsabit. It has not been paid. If you go to KWS, they will tell you this money is with the finance, treasury. If you ask treasury, they say it has not come to us. So I want the CS to tell us what is happening or what is not happening between the treasury and KWS. Thank you very much.
Senator Onyonka Richard Momoima.
Thank you. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Madam Speaker, thank you very much. CS, I first of all want to say that I'm happy to see you. I'm also happy that I've listened to you carefully and I've listened to you answer the questions intelligently and professionally. Keep it up. I wanted to say that the responsibility of you making sure that Kenya keeps maintaining the name of being a tourist destination is up to you. But I would like to persuade you, as you are in the cabinet, because tourism does not exist in outer space. It exists in an environment where the public or whoever that is coming to tour in your country, they want to come and find a country that is peaceful, a country that is offering basically services that are valuable, services that are quantifiable, and experiences that are magic. But with the number of corruption scandals and the noises we are having in our country, I don't think many tourists will want to come to this country. So I would like to ask you, Madam CS, that I hope that when you're in your cabinet meetings, you will talk to the president. Tell him we respect him. Tell him we want him to govern our country peacefully. Tell him that he must make sure there is no corruption in tourism.
Senator Onyonka,
Madam Chair.
What is the question?
The question is,
because you have started a different trajectory.
I was preparing my ground, but because you have guided me, I will say,
ask the question direct.
Madam CS, do you intend to introduce any route, touristic route, coming out from other than the Mara, other than people going to like I've had, the obvious touristic areas? Are you intending to create certain routes or certain events and certain marketing strategies to make sure that tourism goes up to Nandi County, tourism goes up to Kisii, we go to Trans Nzoia, and all the other areas where tourists normally don't go? And what is it that you would want your ministry to suggest that can be done around the lakeside area, particularly Kisumu, Homa Bay, and the Migori County governments? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chararike Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine to the CS will be very simple. One is that Rift Valley counties like Anbot, Kericho, Kisumu, Nandi, Bomet, Kisii, Nyamira, we are the home of sports. What is the strategy of the ministry, through you, Madam Speaker, and to the CS, on enhancing sport tourism? Because we have legends of sports like Eliud Kipchoge, Faith the Maestro, of course, Faith Kipyegon, Amos Kipruto, among others, who, when people from across the world would want to visit, is their way of enhancing sports tourism by establishing maybe sports tourism centers and areas, so that when tourists visit, they can also, because Kenya is known as a home of athletics and other sports, what is the strategy of ensuring? And in conclusion, Chair, tied up with that question, in sports tourism, this Western circuit, it is one question, Madam Speaker, this Western circuit,
I'm about to ask why you're asking two questions.
it is co-joined like CMS twins, Madam Speaker. It is co-joined like, in this Western circuit, alongside my colleagues, we have huge potential tourism, apart from sports and even animals like Kingwal Swamp in Chesumei sub-county. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kip Korir William Cheptumo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to join my colleagues in thanking the CS for articulating the issues before this House. Madam Speaker, there has been a serious problem in the country about the conflict between the wildlife and the Kenyan people, especially in the game reserves, in the national reserves, and so on. Madam Speaker, in Baringo County, we have a game reserve called Kapnorak. And I'm happy the director, KWS, has been there before. And this has caused a lot of conflict, Madam Speaker. When the former CS came here, I raised the same issue, and he was not able to give satisfactory answer. Madam CS, is there a way, not only in Baringo, but across the country, where you have MOUs between the residents of the area where the game reserves are and the KWS institution, so that then there is some understanding? Because the residents in those areas, their livelihood is livestock, and sometimes they need some grazing, areas, especially at a time when there's no rain. So I wanted CS to really, and I'm happy the director is here, what arrangements do you have to ensure that you reduce the conflict between the people of Kapnorak area, where the Kapnorak Game Reserve is established, and the KWS, so that we minimize the loss of the people around there, because livestock is their only livelihood?
Honorable CS, you can respond to those questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and members. I commit to follow up the case of compensation for Marsabit and get the finer details. But I want to say that human-wildlife conflict and the compensation, since I joined the ministry, is a daily conversation that is being given the importance it deserves. My principal secretary, not a day ends without having a discussion on compensation, human-wildlife conflict, the competition for resources, what we need to do for communities. I want to assure, as we go on with the work that we have been given, we are giving that the highest priority. In regard to diversification of tourism destinations and the products that we have, we are launching the Western Circuit on Friday, but in total we have 9 identified circuits covering all the regions of Kenya, so that we can unveil and promote the products each area has, each county has, so that we have sustainable tourism, and we have many more products that tourists can enjoy. The question by honorable member from Nandi County. Yes, sports tourism is an important pillar in the strategy that we are implementing. Quite a lot of activities are lined up and others have taken place. For example, the athletes, the great athletes we have in Kenya will be the tourism ambassadors, sports tourism ambassadors. We know that plans for Iten Training Institute to also have foreign athletes going to Iten, and partnering with the Ministry of Sports, so that under the Magical Kenya, every sports event can have a tourism angle. But for now is to confirm that it is a strategic pillar in the strategy we are implementing. In regard to the question asked by the honorable member from Baringo, we have several MOUs that have been signed between KWS and county governments, and we have one between that is between the county governments and KWS on behalf of the people of that county. And a lot of activity is being done between the counties and KWS, and I look forward to working with the leaders. We do know that this human-wildlife conflict is basically caused by competition for resources, and especially water, pastures. There is a lot of lack of water, adequate water to cover both human and wildlife. And we want to put a lot of focus on the provision of water so that humans can have enough water and animals can have water to reduce the competition. And Honorable Speaker, like I have affirmed, human-wildlife conflict is highest in our priority and even in our agenda. It is an item that we are reporting to the highest level, even at the cabinet meetings. And in days to come, we do hope that with the operationalization of county wildlife compensation committees, and with our resolve to look for diversified resource mobilization ways, we will be able to tackle the pending compensations and going forward reducing the conflicts so that we can have more coexistence rather than the conflicts. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Eric Okongo Mogeni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the CS for the good work she has embarked on in enhancing the tourism sector in our country. Now, Madam Speaker, in this aspect of diversifying, when you travel to other countries, Madam Speaker, you land their city, you will find that the government has put in place arrangements where you get open buses that take tourists around some key tourist attraction areas. And these guys contribute to the income of the country because you pay. It's not for free. Madam Speaker, for us, the buses can take the tourists to Limuru. They look at our beautiful tea farms. They understand where the famed Kenya tea comes from. They can be taken around to see what is happening at National Park and many other areas. But I don't see this happening, and that requires government support. What steps, Madam Speaker, will the ministry put in place so that we can also tap into that market the way other countries have done? I know, Mr. Speaker, if you have traveled, you go to London, you get these buses. You go to Barcelona, you get these buses. Why can't you also do the same as a country? Number two, in making other counties, because now we have 47 governments across the country. Other regions, like where I come from in Kisii, as the government put in place marketing strategies so that when these tourists come to Kenya, they can be told the other areas where you will see things you will not see anywhere in the world. The soapstone in Kisii is only found in Kisii. People export those, you know, the whatever, the art crafts that are made in Kisii to foreign countries, and they are sold at a kill. As the government put in place any marketing strategies so that when tourists come, they also know that they can visit other regions like Kisii, like Nyamira, so that we have income on tourism spread across the country, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Agnes, I'll give you a chance because I had called you earlier, but otherwise the questions being asked is just one to a respective CS in a session.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I have too many issues in Machakos, and I would want to put in knowledge of Madam Speaker that even the CS who has left the ministry was aware of how my people in Machakos, especially Masinga County, suffers when they want to go to Masinga from Modhesia Ndivini Kalakala ward. They have to pass through Muranga, they go through Thika, Kiambu, come back to Machakos County if they want to cross in a dignified way by road. And I've been requesting if a ferry can be put between Ekarakara and Ndivini, Isiukoni, Yambukoni, where they cross by just temporarily boats, and that is where they are killed by hippos and crocodiles a lot, and they cross in a very undignified manner. And the outgoing for CS had promised that they will look for funds and put a ferry there. Because there's a big issue. Madam CS, what are you planning to do about that? Thank you.
Senator Adandulo Fatuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to request the CS if I may say that I have about 3 game reserves in my county and 1 Meru Park that is neighboring my county. But, Madam Speaker, if you look at maybe now devolution and before devolution, the standard of those reserves and parks have really gone down. More specifically, the reserves are under the county governments. They are the ones actually who are supposed to take care of those game reserves. But unfortunately, the standard has really gone down completely, because you will find in most of the counties don't have capacity, and sometimes they don't even employ those who are real professionals to man those reserves. My question is, CS, do you have a working mechanisms between yourselves and the counties? And number two, I believe the standard should be left with the ministry so that they can be able to keep the standard and the government doesn't lose revenue that is generated from the tourists. I thank you.
Honorable CS, please respond to those final round of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll start with a question by Honorable Mugeni, basically about urban tourism and the buses, the tour buses, and other products that are available, especially in large cities. And this is really gaining global traction. As a ministry, we are working on some processes and some products. We are discussing with the ministry or department in charge of immigration to have transit visas so that travelers who have a long layover can have a transit visa and be able to sample some of the products. We are working closely and encouraging the private sector to participate, and especially in the transport sector. In those countries, most of these buses have a lot of input from the private sector, and this is the private partnership. And Nairobi has a lot to offer, and even in the counties. And we do hope that resources permitting and in partnership with the private sector, this can be a dream come true. We have also seen that tourists who go to cities have certain minimum expectations: good tours, good museums, good nightlife, and quite a lot that a city can offer. I want to assure you that that is in our radar. We need a lot of aggressive marketing in Kenya, even for the counties, and like you have mentioned, specifically the soapstone. I recently met an entrepreneur, a young man, who is doing quite a lot in that field, but on the investment side, when I was in the docket for investment. But it's then a linkage to make it a tourism product. That's why we are concentrating on diversifying, working with counties to have more products. There is a lot that Kenya has that is not known domestically and internationally. As we finalize the tourism week in our celebration on Friday, we are also launching a product for the young people to participate in photography and showcase some of those niche and gem products that are available in the counties. And we do hope to have a very good repository of that as we even give an opportunity for our young people to have their talent and make it into a competition. In regard to the question by the honorable member from Machakos, the issue of the ferry had not come to my attention, but now
Senator
that
Kavin,
it has
she's
come
responding to that
to
question
my
of Machakos.
attention, I will take it up together with the Ministry of Transport, get the finer details, and probably what can be done about that. The question by the honorable member from Isiolo, it is true that national parks are managed by Kenya Wildlife Service, while game reserves are under the ambit of county governments. We have seen a lot of challenges in management of the game reserves that counties face or are faced by counties, technical capacity, human resources, and other challenges. And we are having a working mechanism with the counties on national reserves, but specifically for Isiolo County, the ministry through the KWS has deployed a senior warden to support the management of Bisindai National Reserve, and KWS has a company, a station there in Isiolo complex to support the security and the activities and the issues that arise from the game reserve. Of course, a lot can be done in collaboration with the counties, and KWS will take up that issue so that we strengthen the collaboration between the counties and KWS to the benefit and security of the people, and also the management and conservation of the wildlife that exists in the game reserves. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable CS, for responding to those questions from the senators. I would guide that the question asked by Senator Agnes Mudhama is very specific. If you could put it down in paper together with Senator Chute, it was also equally very specific. That should assist the CS to respond specifically to the issues, the critical issues that you have raised for the respective counties. So you can turn them in to the clerk so that they can be handled by the CS in a good manner, and they can bring formal answers for those questions. So I want to discharge the Honorable CS after that long session and responding to all the questions you have responded. Thank you very much, and now you are ready and free to leave. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, report of the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Accra, Ghana from 30th September to 6th October 2023. Resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 24th July 2024, morning sitting.
Honorable Senators, we are resuming debate on this motion, and now I call upon Senator Cheradiki Samson Kiprotich to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to commend Senator Professor Margaret Kamar for bringing this motion on the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Madam Speaker, this is a very important association because it allows parliamentarians across the globe and our staff, the Secretariat, to exchange the best practices of the presidents and development of parliaments across the world, especially in the African setup. Madam Speaker, as Kenya, we are proud to have, although an hybrid system of both presidential and parliamentary system, Madam Speaker, and therefore it is important as African nations that we always come together to ensure we exchange best practices in legislative intervention, in legislative programming, and even managing of the sessions of the houses, both plenary and parliamentary and committee level, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I commend the team and a number of members of parliament who are part of it. Madam Speaker, we are in the era as the chairperson of the Parliamentary Caucus on Open Governance Program, OGP. Madam Speaker, we are in an era of legislative openness and legislative integrity, where public participation under Article 118 of parliamentary processes in Kenya, public participation is forming an integral part, both in Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya. So as the Senate Caucus and the Parliamentary Caucus Chair of Parliamentary Open Governance, and I'm happy, Madam Speaker, you attended the session where His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto, came and launched the 5th Action Plan of Open Governance Program. And we are moving now, apart from the issues at the executive and judiciary, we are now moving to legislative integrity, openness, and public participation in terms of legislative program, Madam Speaker. And I want to ask Senator Professor Kamar and the team here in Parliament that let us also, because this OGP, the Open Governance Program, let us encourage other government nations and parliaments of Kenya and across the world, even the ones, IALA, East Africa Legislative Assembly, and other regional parliamentary groups. We can borrow from European Union Parliamentary Group, and of course, Westminster style of parliament that we normally have, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of importance, and that has captured my attention, is the relocation of the CPA to headquarters to Africa. I think, Madam Speaker, we are looking to the future where Africa will become a very integral part of the process of going into the future, Madam Speaker. And we hope, Madam Speaker, the legislative intervention, because in Nigeria, where we have federal form of government or federal assembly, legislative assembly, here in Kenya we have county assemblies, Madam Speaker. We need to cascade down the best practices and exchange, because the National Assembly or National Parliament reflects the county assemblies that we have, Madam Speaker, so that we reduce and ensure the county assemblies operate. And I remember, Madam Speaker, on the issue of county assemblies in Kenya, we have tried to ensure they work, maybe by ensuring the SRC review the MCS, personal welfare, and even giving them Ward Development Fund, giving them financial autonomy to allow them to do the oversight without the political patronage of individual governors and county governors across the nation. Madam Speaker, and therefore I agree that we need to host the association headquarters and change it from charitable body, Madam Speaker, to interparliamentary organ, so that we can anchor in our own processes within that we have as a House, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the third point I want to make in quick succession is on the issue of food security that was captured in Ghana. I think where we are going as a nation, Madam Speaker, almost 80% of any family's budget, even here in Nairobi, across the country, across the world, normally goes to food. And therefore, we must be ready. I come from a farming community, Madam Speaker. I want to say, for example, as we plant tea, sugar, coffee, just the region you come from, maize, Madam Speaker, milk processing and milk production, Madam Speaker. Although some of us are not happy with the tea bonuses that we got the other day, I know where you come from, you are getting between 57 shillings to 61 shillings. In the Rift Valley, Kericho, Bomet, Nandi, Kisii, Nyamira, Vihiga, Mount Bungoma, we were getting between 15 shillings to 25 shillings. Yet we are being told what is the reason. There is difference, a huge difference between tea bonuses that come to our region, Madam Speaker. So on the issue of food security, it's very critical, it's very important, Madam Speaker. Even I want to ask the Parliament of Kenya, and I want to challenge the National Assembly, because I saw their majority leaders speaking other things that are not of importance in this country. That as we talk today, Madam Speaker, the coffee bill is lying in the National Assembly. As we talk today, Madam Speaker, the Mang bill is lying in the National Assembly. The bill that is sponsored by yours truly, the anti-stock theft livestock produce and product bill, is lying in the National Assembly. Even the amendments to various, to guarantee minimum returns legislations is lying to the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, therefore I want to challenge even our county assemblies. Let us be honest, if we want to do food security, Madam Speaker, let us fast track the bills, Madam Speaker, that belong to farmers. As I speak today, many bills of the Senate that would have assisted, because agriculture is devolved, Madam Speaker, under the fourth schedule. Most of our bills that belong to the agriculture sector including your county where you and Senator Newton come from, the Muranga County, are majority farmers. But National Assembly have become a graveyard, Madam Speaker, of our bills, especially the agricultural bills, that because, of course, their leadership is busy with other things. I want to call upon them, Madam Speaker, to fast-track those bills so that we don't need, I saw them crying over CDF. In fact, my proposal, Madam Speaker, because you are a senior lawyer in this republic, CDF will and shall remain unconstitutional into the future. I saw they saying, oh, you know, if you remove CDF, Madam Speaker, you know, there will be no bursary. The conversation in the country, Madam Speaker, is simple. Can you amalgamate or bring together all the bursary from GAF, from CDF, from county governments, from Ministry of Education, bring them into one pot? Let us not subject our children to tokenism, where if you don't know a member of parliament, you don't know a women rep, you don't know a PS, you don't know a governor, your child cannot get bursary. Let us put into one basket, send it to the school. Let every Kenyan child, from Muranga to Nandi, to Wazingishu, to Mandera, to Moyale, to Kisumu, just walk into a learning institutions and learn without worrying. Let us make it the education to be free. And I'm happy, as I say it with passion, my chairperson of Education Committee in the Senate is listening to this. I hope the Education Committee, I know Senator Professor Kamara is also a member, sit and give us a proposal to amalgamate all the tuition that comes into this, Mr. So on the issue of food security, I want to challenge county assemblies, Madam Speaker. Even as we go into the future, let us, we saw there was a subsidy program on fertilizer, Madam Speaker, going into the future, Madam Speaker. Even our counties should know. You saw, Madam Speaker, my county assembly of Nandi yesterday, and I've been telling them that they need to process bills that assist farming and food security. You saw the people of Nandi went to Nandi County Assembly to demand the impeachment of the governor of Nandi because of lack of policies to spur agriculture sector in this republic. And I want to thank the people of Nandi for maintaining peace and peacefully going to greet the MCS. Although, Madam Speaker, they went ahead and passed an ad hoc committee instead of passing an impeachment proceeding bill. Madam Speaker, we have given our MCS from Nandi 14 days to process an impeachment proceedings against Governor Sang, bring it to the floor of the Senate. I can assure you, because as we don't condone corruption, we don't condone bad governance or underdevelopment, we shut up all the impeachment charges led by yours truly, Madam Speaker. And that is very critical. So my advice to the MCAs, they did the wrong thing yesterday, Madam Speaker, by passing an ad hoc instead of initiating an impeachment proceedings. Madam Speaker, finally, I want to ask our EACC and DCI, even as we investigate the issue of fake fertilizer in the country, Madam Speaker, in the issue of fraud by payrolls, Madam Speaker, where even my governor decided to hire the mother and siblings in the unpolitical masseuse and political solace, Madam Speaker, in the payroll of Nandi, I was shocked by the statement of Nandi CCIO by the name called Peter Ochieng Okola, by saying that in their investigations, even the investigations are still ongoing, in their investigations, Madam Speaker, the CCIO of Nandi, Mr. Peter Ogola, is telling the county, Madam Speaker, that the conclusions, the investigations are concluded, and the governor was not aware. Yet he is not telling the county, Madam Speaker, whether the governor has written a statement on the matter. We cannot be selling justice to the highest bidder, Madam Speaker. And I'm calling the National Police Service Commission Internal Affairs Unit to investigate the CCIO Nandi Peter Ogola, Madam Speaker, for allegations of being compromised by governor, to come up with a conclusion, Madam Speaker, to say he was not involved. Madam Speaker, ordinarily, if my brother is hired somewhere, I should know. If my mother is hired somewhere, I should know. Why is it that the CCIO is telling the county, Madam Speaker, that he is not aware or the investigations are complete? Madam Speaker, I have requested, and I have talked to DCI Ahmed Amin, Madam Speaker, the DCI of the Republic of Kenya, for the national DCI to take over the investigations into manipulation and allegations of fraud to Nandi County payroll, so that we know the truth, Madam Speaker. We don't, Madam Speaker, as a country, we are tired with professional sanitizers who sanitize people, Madam Speaker, and we will fail as a country. If corruption allegations happens, we go for the small fish. Yet we leave the shacks. That is why, Madam Speaker, the Gen Z revolution happened. Because the only way to reward impunity, Madam Speaker, is to go for the small people in the fight against corruption and leave the big people, the Wadosi, Madam Speaker. And if you read by Kitongo, it is our turn to eat, Madam Speaker. If you read that book, and I know you have read the way you are nodding, Madam Speaker, the biggest problem in the fight against in our country, our counties, our African continent, as Senator Kamar, you should take this to the African parliamentary continent, is the corruption that thrives from the county governments, national government, across the nation.